What is going on, guys? Sternritters all gaming with my review of Bleach chapter 601, and this chapter, it was actually pretty good. Even though it was definitely a very simple chapter, it was still good nonetheless. And this chapter I definitely like because Oetsu, hopefully I'm saying his name right, but this guy, he went in and I love that. But the chapter itself, it starts pretty much from last week where we have Oetsu. He is like telling these royal guards to come after him because this guy, he is like very confident, and I definitely like that. And so we see the miracle. He's now charging in there, and we see now that like Oetsu, he actually dodged that strike pretty impressively. But we see now that like this strike, it made like some kind of wave attack because we do see now that it did hit those trees, but obviously they are absorbing those blows. And now we see that like that obviously the miracle, he does give Oetsu some kind of compliment, but obviously it's like to Oetsu, he was saying that it's basic etiquette to dodge hugs from another brother, you dig. And that right there was funny. I definitely like the way Oetsu character talks because like I said in my last review, this guy is definitely my favorite Zero Squad member by far. And so now we see that when the miracle was actually going to attack again, Oetsu was not going to happen, and we see now that like he to him, he thought it was his turn. And so now we see like Oetsu did something, but obviously we don't see that. But the miracle did go down, and right now we have the death dealing. He was like definitely confused by this because he thought like some kind of joke, because obviously how does somebody like the miracle go down so easily? But we see now that a cut was definitely made, and we just see all this blood going nowhere. And so obviously Oetsu, once again he was talking in that very special way, and he even had the nerve to like call himself the sexiest member of the Zero Squad, and that right there was funny. But he said that his sword, it was one swing, one kill, and that right there, it was definitely proven a fact here by this name. But now we see that the X-axis, apparently this guy, he could see, like what he was doing. And right now, obviously something is definitely wrong with this sword, which is why it was like in that liquid, rather than being in a normal sword sheath like most Zanpakutos. But we see now that when the X-axis shot at him, Oetsu or something happened where those bullets, they did not hit them, but once again it did hit those trees. But the thing is though, the X-axis, he also had no idea like what he just do. But obviously like to Oetsu, right here was like nothing for him. It was pretty much more than than a simple trick. And we see now that like every time that the X-axis would shoot at Oetsu, he would pretty much cutting the bullets in half, and obviously they were not going to hit him. But we see at one point he actually cut his arm. He cuts his arm where his weapon is, and that right there was definitely impressive. And not only that, we also see that not only was his arm cut in half, but his body as well. And even though these like royal guards, even though they are going down pretty easily, different here Chico to show you how serious and how powerful the Zero Squad is. And so we have Pernenda. Like obviously this thing, because I have no idea whether or not the thing is that the guy or girl, we see now that Pernenda was actually going to do something, but Oetsu threw his sword right at it, and it like pierced his head, and that right there was brutal. But that panel where we see that panel where we have the sword going through his head, and then we have Oetsu flash stepping there after it, that right there, it was awesome. And so now we see that when he first strikes the death dealing, the one who was promoted, we see now that he was actually able to dodge the hit, where that way it did not hit anything like too vital, so he was still alive. But then we have Oetsu like nearly down and finishing the job, and that right there was brutal. But it definitely makes sense because obviously why in the world we let your opponent get up like that? Like to me that right there makes no sense. But we learn now that the sword he was using, Sayabuze, it was actually a failed creation, and we see now that this sword it's cutting ability is so freaking well that that's like way too sleek. No matter how much you cut or no matter how much blood you get on there, like that sword right there, it will never chip, and that blood right there will like never stay on it. But obviously, he could not make a sheath for that sword because it is a failed creation, and so we see that because of that, he like keeps it in a very special liquid. And so that right there goes like normally a failed sword like this, it would put a swordsman out of business. But obviously, in his case, he could use a very powerful sword like this to cut down all of his opponents. And so we see now that he's actually grateful to Yuha and obviously the other Quincy for like breaking in here, because this right here is the one and only time where this sword will ever get a chance to like truly shine. And that right there is like definitely something. But now we see like Oetsu, he was definitely feeling something, and that one panel it does look a bit weird. I'm guessing that right there was like the spiritual pressure that he was feeling. But we see now that the death dealing, this guy, he seemed to have some kind of immortality, which is why you have him in the first place. And so obviously this guy right here, we actually learned about his power now, and we learned that he can't die. But he always had the feeling now that they like always knocking on on death's door or heaven's door. So that right there is something. I do wonder if this guy can be killed no matter what they do, because if this guy right here really is immortal, then Yuha might kill himself just to get that power, so that way he won't die no matter what. But I'm definitely curious to see how they will deal with him. But like I said, this chapter, it was like, to me, it was definitely good. I like how Oetsu went in there and pretty much dealt with like most of the royal guard. To me, that was like definitely impressive. But obviously now Yuryu and Hashball, they will have to step in, because obviously like the royal guard, aside for death dealing, they all died pretty much. But the chapter overall, I'm actually going to give it an 8 out of 10. But of course, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.